This storm is not done yet, as we've got impacts the next couple of days for parts of the East Coast, and that could include severe weather in the southeast as this front comes crashing down. In this video, I've got the details on all of the rainfall and even the northern and snowfall that the system will bring to the east, and we'll also take a look at the pattern ahead as we head into next week. All that right here.
One Nation Weather.
Thanks for being with me here at One Nation Weather. As always, maps in this video, many of them are from WeatherBell. Check out the free trial to them in the description, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you enjoy the rest of this video. Let's get right into the content here as we're taking a look at that future radar from our HRRR model. As I filmed this on your late Friday, we've seen a little bit of storm activity. It's actually been underperforming here over parts of the south, but we're going to watch parts of Mississippi, southern Alabama, as well as parts of South Georgia and the Florida Panhandle tonight and into our early Saturday morning for the potential of severe weather and a couple of tornadoes to maybe pop on up there, with these storms still continuing in that favorable environment that just hasn't been able to come to fruition quite to its fullest today as a result of all the heavy rainfall that's just been plaguing the area. As we go into the day tomorrow, though, all the way through our, say, morning hours in Georgia, South Carolina, on into the Florida Panhandle, we'll watch some rain and storms there. Some of that could be severe with maybe a tornado threat, as we also watch that front bringing a lot of rain all the way up into the Ohio Valley and Northeast at the same time. So again, you can see storms ongoing into parts of the far southeast coast on our late afternoon and evening time frame Saturday. A lot of rain on up there into parts of the Northeast in Saturday evening. Some of that will turn to snow as we head towards Saturday late evening and into our Sunday early morning over parts of the interior Northeast. And then the system's eventually going to kind of wrap on up with a lot of interior New England snowfall and lake effect snowfall there over parts of Ohio and Pennsylvania. Skip a little bit further to see exact rain and snow totals, as I'll talk about those in a little bit. But you can see right here through our Friday night, we're still watching that level 2 risk primarily, especially through parts of southern Mississippi, southern Georgia, as well as the Florida Panhandle for severe weather. That does include tornadoes. Into our Saturday, we're watching parts of Dothan, Alabama, Gainesville and Tallahassee in Florida, all the way on up there to parts of Wilmington and North Carolina, and along really that Georgia and South Carolina coastline. That whole environment is going to be ripe, so another chance for some severe weather to maybe erupt as we go into our Saturday. Could this be when this event really begins to come into fruition? Certainly so here, so really keep an eye on this, especially if you live in South Georgia, as well as the low country of South Carolina and North Carolina there, with that 5% tornado risk within 25 miles of a point throughout the day, especially around the midday and into the afternoon time frame as well. As we've got these dew points, really climbing on up through the 60s there into parts of South Georgia, parts of the low country of South Carolina, with a warm front lifting north through places like Atlanta and Columbia, South Carolina, and during the morning hours of our Saturday. Meanwhile, we've got a cold front moving in from the west, so with dew points in the 60s, that's very ripe for severe weather. The closer you get to 70, the better. You can see some of those 70 degree value readings there in Fahrenheit there into parts of South Georgia, the northern Florida Panhandle as well. So we'll see if some of those can also move on up into where there's maybe some better shear into parts of South and North Carolina. The more these ingredients blend, the better chance you do have of tornadoes. And as you can see, those low-level winds really cranking up, especially towards the Carolina coastline there, where we've got that 50, 60 knot low-level jet looking to pop on up there with some of our more recent runs of the HRRR model and other models as well. You can also see there we've kind of got that overlap with some of those better dew points and more of that moisture, which is what the dew points kind of signal towards. So it is really worth watching there, especially if you live in that slight risk zone on our Saturday for that severe weather here, as this event may not be over quite yet. Here we go. We're just looking at a model simulation. This might not occur, but it does look like as we go through the midnight to overnight hours of tonight, we're going to watch some isolated cells through parts of southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, as well as that northern Florida Panhandle potential region here as we go into our early Saturday morning for some showers and storms that could briefly produce a spin-up tornado. But it's also really looking like, as we continue to see this kind of trend that we've seen all along with this storm, and what's really helped to keep this severe weather event underperforming, all of this training rain, and that's actually a flood threat there through parts of areas just south of Atlanta, Georgia, on over there to Augusta and towards Columbia, South Carolina into the morning hours. So not only do we have to watch a severe weather threat, with all that heavy rain that kind of preludes the threat, we have to watch for the flooding. But again, when you got a lot of heavy rain, that's something that can actually really help to kind of put a damper on these storms moving through parts of south central Georgia as we head towards around 9, 10 a.m. on our Saturday morning there, and as they continue to try and become more discreet while heading east. If they're kind of in the trailing, in that wake of those previous storms, that's where you start to look and be like, okay, these are coming from the southwest, moving to the northeast there through parts of South Georgia, the low country of South Carolina, but is the atmosphere really ripe in the wake of all that heavy rain that's already moved through? It kind of keeps those temperatures down, even keeps those dew points down maybe just a little bit. So we'll see if we can can get the environment ripe enough, especially further north towards parts of Atlanta, all the way on over there towards Charlotte there in that I-85 corridor. But if you're down south of I-20, that's where it looks like we'll at least get some storms, some of those also capable of course, of some damaging winds and some hail. And we'll also, around the mid-afternoon time frame, be watching a little weak band of some showers and storms moving through Appalachia at that time. But focusing back on down there towards parts of the south, looks like through Savannah, Georgia, we might get some showers and storms during the early evening hours. But most convection is actually off the southeast coast before daylight hours end. So this is mostly a daylight threat here through our Saturday. But look at all that rainfall. And again, this is part of the reason that severe weather threat may continue to be lower, like it has been with this event all along. It's just very heavy rain, and we'll be watching those 2 to 4 inch totals from parts of southeast Alabama and the Dothan region through parts of south central Georgia, all the way on over there to the low country of South Carolina. 2 to 4 inch totals widespread. Some storms could produce up to a half foot of rain in that 6 inch range. We're also watching that very heavy rain that's showing some spots with the Weather Prediction Center there, indicating some 2 to 4 inch totals in local areas there of parts of Pennsylvania, the New York City region, as well as on up there into parts of New Hampshire and Maine and along that Maine coastline. So we'll continue to watch all of the rainfall and the attendant flooding threats that also come along with that as the system continues to head on off towards the east. And with the wraparound flow behind the system, we actually get a pretty considerable amount of snowfall here into the interior New England region. Look at this through parts of north central New York, so through the upstate region, on up there through parts of Vermont, and in north central New Hampshire, as well as on up there through northern Maine. Some of those higher elevations picking up close to 8 to 12 inches of snowfall, maybe locally higher. A lot of even some of the lower elevations picking up at least 3 to 6 inches in some cases there, so not too shabby if you're really up in those interior areas of New England. We're also watching some wind gusts as we go through our weekend time frame, especially closer to the southern New England coastlines. But then as we go in towards our Monday, look at this. This is around 4 or 5 a.m. Monday. Very strong northwesterly flow wrapping around the system, kind of bringing in that cooler air through the afternoon on Monday. We'll see a lot of 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts over New England, so probably triggering some wind advisories in that region. Now, as we take a look at those temperature anomalies as we head into the week ahead, you can see we're about 10-15 degrees below average in some parts of Pennsylvania and Appalachia as we head through our Sunday. Even as we head into early next week, we're watching these anomalies over especially the southeastern part of the United States, about 10 to 15 degrees below average as you wake up on your Monday morning. They're over a lot of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas there. But then look at this right behind that cooler than average air. Warmer than average air will return quickly once again. So that's been the big trend. Big storm systems riding through that warm air with just a quick cool punch behind, and then the ridging returns. And that's the pattern over the plains as we head into this upcoming week. In fact, let's take a look day by day at those temperatures as we go through our Saturday here, again ahead of our severe weather event in parts of Florida. We're at record highs through a lot of central and south Florida from Orlando all the way on down to the Keys. Meanwhile, it's in the 40s and 50s a lot over the northern part of the United States. But look at this as we go into our Sunday. Look at this rapid warmth return over especially parts of Kansas and Nebraska, actually warmer than Texas there with 60s to near 70 there into parts of Hays, Kansas. Look at this though, behind that cold front in the east on Sunday, it's cooler there. Remember that northwesterly flow is going to develop Sunday and into Monday with 30s for high temperatures near the freezing mark there in the Great Lakes and Northeast on Sunday, and then as we go into Monday, we're still watching some 30s there into the interior New England regions while the warmth returns over the plains. Look at that, some record highs in your Minneapolis, even in the Des Moines, Iowa area, pushing those records there with highs in your 70 as we go to Monday. Into Tuesday, look at how expansive our 70s and even low 80s over the southern part of this zone are on our Tuesday. So just really warming up. We're seeing that warmth return in next week, and eventually with a little bit of a front maybe pushing on it. And as you can kind of see that knocking on the door Wednesday and into Thursday there while we keep things in the 70s over a lot of the southeast. And here's that potential front, the European ensemble members here. So this is a collection of a bunch of different models here, 50 models that we're looking at to kind of give us a look at, where we might be seeing some precipitation as we head towards next week. Looking like we might see a low pressure system over some part of the plains as we head maybe Wednesday and into Thursday, bringing some kind of shower and storm activity. And it looks to be heaviest down there closer to the Arklatex. Could it be severe? Yes. And it also shows some heavier precipitation on up towards the Midwest as well. But also notice how widespread and expansive those gray colors are. There's a wide range of model uncertainty with how heavy and where this rain is going to be, and that's why there's a lot of color all over this map as we head towards the end of next week. So we don't really have any good consensus here, again, with this very broad area of grays and greens as to where exactly precipitation might be. So that's why it's good to kind of monitor the forecast as we get closer to the system, because confidence is very low, but it looks like we might see some storms late next week and into the weekend from parts of the south central all the way to the southeast. Meanwhile, the overall pattern showing warmer than average air as we go in that 6 to 10 day range. So March 14th through the 18th here over the west, the north, and then over the eastern United States, especially on up there into parts of Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. And then as we go and take a look here at our precipitation outlook here, the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, same window as those temperature outlooks that we just showed there. We're looking in the northwestern part of the United States, a lot drier than normal. That's good. It's actually been pretty active across the west over the last month or so. Still active over a lot of the east though, so we'll continue to watch that pattern. If you want to be with me through all the patterns ahead, please hit that subscribe button to get me to that next 4,000 subscriber goal. We're at 3,050 right now. Not too shabby of a start. Thanks so much for being with me in this video. Check out WeatherBell maps in the description. That's it for this one.